Captain Velthor pressed his furry paw against the cold metal wall of his ship's bridge as everything around him fell apart. The Silent Dawn had been his home for 3 years, carrying him and his research team through the peaceful outer regions of space. They were scientists, not warriors. Their mission was simple: study the beautiful gas clouds near human territory and collect samples for their homeworld. But now his ship was dying. The Crimson Fang pirates had appeared out of nowhere. Just 2 hours ago, their black ships moved like hungry predators, surrounding the small research vessel before anyone could react. These weren't ordinary space thieves looking for credits or supplies. They wanted the quantum processors that powered the Asterisk Silent Dawn's Asterisk advanced scanning equipment. Each processor was worth more than most planets made in a year. Velthar's crew of 11. Other Nexari scientists huddled behind their workstations as sparks flew from damaged control panels. The pirates had been smart and cruel. Instead of destroying the ship outright, they used special weapons that slowly disabled each system one by one. First, the engines stopped working, leaving them floating helplessly in space. Then the shields failed, making them completely defenseless. Now the life support was shutting down, and the air was getting thinner with each passing minute. "Captain, the oxygen recyclers just went offline," called out a science officer, her voice shaking with fear. "We have maybe 4 hours of breathable air left." Velthar closed his large eyes and tried to think. His people were peaceful explorers who had not fought a real war in over 400 years. They had no weapons, no military training, and no way to fight back against the heavily armed pirates circling their ship like space vultures. The lead pirate ship sent another threatening message through their communicator. The voice was rough and filled with greed. "Nexari vessel, prepare to be boarded. Hand over your quantum processors, and we might let you live long enough to reach the nearest space station." But Velthar knew the truth. Pirates like the Crimson Fang never left witnesses alive. Once they took what they wanted, his crew would be killed or sold into slavery in the dark corners of the galaxy. Communications officer Kethfer looked up from his station with desperate hope in his eyes. "Sir, I might be able to get one message out before the transmitter completely dies. The pirates damaged it, but there's still enough power for a single distress call." "Do it," Velthar ordered, without hesitation. "Send our location to the Galactic Patrol. Maybe they can reach us in time." Kethfer's claws moved quickly over his controls as the lights flickered around them.
"I'll wait the distress."
Beacon shot out into space, carrying a simple message in the standard galactic language that all spacefaring species understood. Emergency assistance required. Hull compromised. Crew of 12 in critical danger. As the transmitter finally died with a shower of sparks, none of the Nexari knew that their cry for help had been intercepted by something far different than the slow-moving Galactic Patrol. Their message had reached the monitoring stations of humanity, a species that most of the galaxy still considered to be dangerous newcomers from a death world. The peaceful researchers had no idea they had just contacted the one species in the galaxy that would drop everything to help strangers in need. "Commander." Park was drinking his morning coffee on the bridge of the Thunder's Edge when everything changed. The Terran Navy cruiser had been on routine patrol duty along the outer edges of human space, watching for smugglers and pirates who liked to hide in the empty regions between star systems. It was supposed to be a quiet assignment, the kind of mission where the biggest excitement was usually a malfunctioning cargo hauler asking for directions. Then Lieutenant Kim's console started beeping with an urgent signal that made everyone on the bridge look up from their duties. "Commander, I'm picking up what looks like a distress call," Kim said, his fingers dancing across the translation computer. "But sir, this isn't coming from any human ship. The language patterns are completely alien." Park set down his coffee cup and walked over to Kim's station. The young communications officer was one of the best in the fleet, and if he said something was unusual, it was worth paying attention to. On the screen, strange symbols flickered as the computer tried to make sense of the alien message. "Can you decode it?" Park asked, watching the translation software work through thousands of linguistic patterns. "I'm trying, sir," Our experimental first contact protocols are kicking in, but this is like nothing we've encountered before. Kim's brow furrowed in concentration as he adjusted the settings. Wait, I'm getting something. It's basic, but I think they're asking for help. Science Officer Lee looked up from her station across the bridge. She was young but brilliant, the kind of person who could analyze sensor data faster than most people could read. Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the signal's origin point. The ship design doesn't match anything in our database of known species. Park felt his pulse quicken. Humanity had only been traveling between the stars for about 50 years, and they had met exactly 3 other intelligent species so far. Each first contact had been carefully planned with diplomats, scientists, and months of preparation. This was completely different. This was an emergency involving aliens they had never seen before. What exactly is the message saying? Park demanded. Kim's. The face went pale as the translation finally came through clearly. Emergency assistance required. Hull compromised. Crew of 12 in critical danger. Sir, they're dying out there. The bridge fell silent, except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Park looked around at his crew of 180 combat veterans. These were men and women who had served in the border wars, fought against pirates and smugglers, and protected human colonies from threats across the galaxy. They were tough, experienced, and loyal to the core, but they were also human. And humans had a strange habit of risking their lives to help complete strangers? How far away are they? Park asked, his mind already made up. 17 minutes at maximum speed, reported the navigation officer. All hands, battle stations, Park announced over the ship's communication system. His voice echoed through every corridor and room on the Thunder's edge. This is not a drill. We are responding to an alien distress call. Prepare for potential. First contact or hostile engagement. Lieutenant Yoon immediately began powering up the ship's plasma cannon batteries and missile systems. Chief Medical Officer Han started preparing the medical bay for unknown alien biology, pulling out emergency treatment kits and setting up quarantine protocols. The entire ship transformed from a peaceful patrol vessel into a weapon of war in less than 3 minutes, as the Thunder's Edge changed course and accelerated toward the unknown. Park realized he was about to make a decision that could change the course of galactic history. The Thunder's Edge burst out of hyperspace like an angry comet, its engines glowing white-hot from the emergency jump. Commander Park gripped his command chair as the tactical display lit up with enemy contacts. What he saw made his blood boil. 3 massive pirate ships surrounded a small, helpless research vessel. The alien ship was clearly dying with atmosphere, leaking from multiple hull breaches and its lights flickering weakly. But the pirates weren't even bothering to board it yet. They were playing with their victims, slowly cutting apart the hull with mining lasers to get at the valuable equipment inside. Sir, I'm detecting 12 life signs on the alien vessel, reported Science Officer Lee, her voice tight with urgency. Their life support is failing fast. Park had seen this kind of cruelty before in the border wars. Pirates who enjoyed watching their victims suffer before finishing them off. The sight triggered something deep in his human instincts, the same protective rage that had driven his species to survive on their deadly homeworld. All batteries target the pirate vessels, Park commanded, his voice cold as space ice. Open fire. The Thunder's Edge unleashed hell. 20 plasma cannons fired simultaneously, their brilliant blue beams cutting through the darkness. First pirate ship exploded in a ball of flame before its crew even knew they were under attack. The second vessel tried to turn and fight, but human-designed missiles were faster and deadlier than anything the pirates had ever faced. It died in 90 seconds, its hull cracking open like a broken egg. The third pirate captain was smarter than his companions. His ship immediately turned and ran at maximum speed, disappearing into hyperspace before the humans could target him. Park let him go. Right now, the dying aliens were more important than chasing cowards. Lieutenant CO, take your boarding team and get over there now, Park ordered. Emergency life support protocols. Move. CO had been waiting for this moment. Her Marine squad was already suited up and ready to go, carrying portable oxygen generators and medical supplies. The shuttle bay doors opened, and her team shot across the empty space between the ships and their assault craft. As soon as they docked with the alien vessel, Sio knew they were in a race against time. The air was thin and getting thinner, filled with the smell of burning electronics and fear. Emergency lights cast weird shadows on the walls as her team spread out through the ship. "Over here!" called one of her Marines. "I found them." 12 cat-like beings huddled together in what looked like their main control room. They had large eyes, soft fur, and expressions of pure terror. Most were barely breathing in the failing atmosphere. One of them, clearly their leader, looked up at the armored humans with a mixture of hope and confusion. Chief Medical Officer Han pushed past the Marines with her emergency medical kit. She had never treated an alien before, but the basics of life support were universal. Oxygen, stable temperature, and treatment for injuries. "Get me those portable oxygen units," she shouted while checking the pulse of the nearest alien. "And someone tell Chief Engineer Cho, I need power restored to this section immediately." Cho was already at work, his team ripping open access panels and connecting human power cells to the alien ship's dying electrical system. Sparks flew as incompatible technologies were forced to work together. But slowly the lights grew brighter and the air recyclers began working again. "Captain." Velthar watched in amazement as these unknown warriors worked with desperate efficiency to save people they had never met before. In all his years of peaceful exploration, he had never seen anything like the selfless courage these humans displayed, risking their own lives to help complete strangers in the cold darkness of space. The medical bay of the Thunder's Edge had never hosted alien guests before, but Dr. Han had managed to set up a comfortable recovery area for the rescued Nexari crew. The cat-like beings were finally breathing normally, their large eyes bright with curiosity as they watched the human crew work around them. "Captain," Ilthar was the first to try speaking with their rescuers. The translation system was crude, turning their words into choppy mechanical sentences, but it was enough for basic communication. What he learned about humans shocked him to his core. "Your species comes from what world classification?" Elthor asked Dr. Lim, the ship's xenobiologist, who had been assigned to help with the cultural exchange. "Earth is classified as a Class 11 death world according to galactic standards." Dr. Lim replied casually as if she was talking about the weather. "Though honestly, we think that rating is a bit low." Science Officer Nalkith nearly choked on her nutrient drink. In galactic classification, anything above Class 7 was considered completely uninhabitable. Class 11 meant a planet where almost everything was actively trying to kill you. "Your planet tries to murder you?" Nalkith asked in disbelief. Dr. Lim laughed, a sound that seemed to confuse the Nexari. "Well, let me think. We have weather systems that can level entire cities, like hurricanes and tornadoes. Our geology includes volcanoes that can block out the sun and earthquakes that split the ground open. The wildlife ranges from tiny invisible bacteria that eat you from the inside two massive predators with claws and teeth designed for killing." The Nexari crew exchanged worried glances. This explained so much about why the humans had been such effective fighters against the pirates. "But surely your species found ways to avoid these dangers?" asked Velthor hopefully. "Oh no, we actually seek them out," Dr. Lim continued cheerfully. "Humans climb the tallest mountains during blizzards, swim in oceans filled with creatures that can bite them in half, and explore active volcanoes for fun. We call it extreme sports." Morden, the Nexari technical specialist, was working alongside Chief Engineer Cho to repair their damaged quantum drive. The experience was eye-opening for both of them. Cho's approach to problem-solving was completely different from what Morden was used to. "Why do you always assume the worst possible scenario?" Morden asked, as Cho installed multiple backup systems for a single component. "Because on Earth, the worst possible scenario usually happens," Cho replied while running diagnostic tests. "We build everything to survive catastrophic failure because catastrophic failure is Tuesday for us." The Nexari were peaceful scientists who hadn't fought a real war in over 400 years. Their entire civilization was built around cooperation, scientific advancement, and avoiding conflict. The idea of a species that evolved by constantly fighting for survival was completely foreign to them. How do you maintain peace among your own species if you are all natural warriors? Asked Velthor during one of their evening conversations in the ship's lounge. Commander Park, who had joined them for dinner, thought about this carefully. We fight hard to protect what we love. Our families, our friends, our way of life. Same instincts that help us survive on Earth also make us willing to die for each other. As the days passed, the Nexari began to understand something profound about humanity. These weren't just skilled fighters or advanced warriors. They were a species where every individual had been shaped by millions of years of surviving impossible odds. Their willingness to risk everything to help strangers wasn't learned behavior or military training. It was simply who they were at their most basic level. Humans would rather face death than abandon someone who needed help, because that attitude was what had kept them alive on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. The cultural exchange revealed a truth that would soon spread throughout the stars. When you evolved on a world that constantly tried to kill you, protecting others became as natural as breathing. Luna Station hung in space like a massive steel fortress, its rotating sections gleaming under the light of Earth's sun. The headquarters of humanity's sole defense fleet had never hosted an alien dignitary before. But Admiral Beak had cleared his entire schedule to meet with Captain Velthor. What the Nexari captain had to say would change everything. In the Admiral's private briefing room, Velthor spread out holographic star charts that showed the true scope of the Crimson Fang Syndicate's operations.
Ow.
The display painted a horrifying picture across 7 entire sectors of space. They control over 400 warships, Velthor explained, his voice heavy with the weight of terrible knowledge. But that's not the worst part. The Syndicate doesn't just steal cargo or demand tribute, they specialize in slavery. Admiral Beak leaned forward in his chair, his weathered face growing dark. At 65, he had seen plenty of horrors during humanity's expansion into space. But organized slavery always triggered his deepest anger. How many species are we talking about? Beak asked quietly. At least 40 different civilizations have been completely enslaved, Velthor continued, manipulating the hologram to show occupied worlds. Entire planets turned into work camps. Children separated from their families and sold to the highest bidders. The lucky ones died during capture. Captain Jun, Beak's intelligence chief, was taking notes frantically. Her sharp mind was already analyzing the tactical implications of what they were hearing. What about the Galactic Council? Jen asked. Surely they must be doing something about this. Velthor made a sound that the translation system interpreted as bitter laughter.
Albector.
The Galactic Council has been debating appropriate response measures for over 3 years. They formed committees to study the problem, then form more committees to study the first committees. Meanwhile, entire star systems disappear into Syndicate territory. 3 years of debate while people suffer, Beak said, his voice filled with disgust. That's not how humans handle things. Admiral, I must warn you, Velthor said seriously. The moment humanity takes action against the Syndicate, you will become their primary target. They have resources that dwarf most planetary defense forces. Your intervention will put Earth itself at risk. Admiral Beak stood up and walked to the large window that showed Earth hanging in space below them. His homeworld looked peaceful from this distance, its blue oceans and white clouds hiding the deadly nature that had forged humanity into what it was today. Captain Velthor, let me explain something about humans, Beak said without turning around. We don't run from bullies. We don't hide when innocent people are being hurt. And we sure as hell don't let slavers operate anywhere near our territory. Turned back to face the Nexari captain. And Velthor saw something in the human's eyes that reminded him of Earth's most dangerous predators. If the Crimson Fang wants to make humanity a target, then we better hit them so hard and so fast that they don't get a second chance. Within minutes of Velthor finishing his briefing, Captain Jun was coordinating with Nexari intelligence contacts scattered throughout the affected sectors. Her communication array lit up with encrypted messages as human fleet commanders across dozens of star systems received their mobilization orders. Admiral Beak activated the emergency protocols that would recall every human warship within 3 weeks travel time. Patrol cruisers, battleships, carriers, and support vessels began converging on staging areas throughout human space. The galaxy was about to learn a fundamental truth about humanity. When you evolved by protecting your tribe from constant threats, that protective instinct extended to anyone who asked for help. The Crimson Fang Syndicate had spent years terrorizing peaceful species while the Galactic Council debated, but now they had attracted the attention of a species that settled arguments with overwhelming violence. And they were about to discover why most of the galaxy considered Earth a death world. The shipyards around Luna Station had never seen anything like the massive fleet assembly taking place in the weeks following Velthor's briefing. What started as routine patrol vessels scattered across human space was rapidly becoming the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Admiral Beak stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching as warship after warship arrived. Through hyperspace jumps, the sight was both magnificent and terrifying. Sleek destroyers moved alongside massive battleships, their hulls bristling with weapons designed by a species that understood violence at a genetic level. Task Force Hammer now consists of 45 warships, sir, reported his aide commander, Kong. The battleships Soul's Fury and Bison's Pride arrived this morning with their full escort squadrons. Beak nodded as he watched the two massive battleships take their positions in the formation. Each one was over 1 kilometer long and carried enough firepower to level a small moon. But it wasn't just their size that made them formidable. It was the tactical thinking behind their design. Captain O arrived for the morning briefing, still adjusting her uniform after the long journey from the outer colonies. She commanded the assault carrier group, 12 ships loaded with fighter craft and marine landing forces. Admiral, my pilots are ready for deployment, O reported. But I have to ask, are we sure about this? The intelligence suggests we'll be outnumbered almost 10 to 1. That's exactly why we're going to win, Beak replied with a grim smile. The Syndicate thinks like most galactic species. They believe in fair fights and honorable combat. Humans don't. Captain Nam, leader of the destroyer squadrons, joined them at the tactical display showing Syndicate territory. His 21 fast attack vessels were designed for hit-and-run tactics that would have been considered dishonorable by most galactic military codes. Sir, I've been studying the Nexari intelligence reports, Nam said. The Syndicate uses traditional formation, fighting big ships in straight lines, trading shots until one side retreats. They've never faced an enemy that uses guerrilla tactics. This was the key difference that most alien species didn't understand about human warfare. While other civilizations had evolved military traditions based on honor and formal combat, humans had learned to fight by surviving on a world where anything that gave you an advantage was perfectly acceptable. Dr. Song's Zena Communication team had been working around the clock with Captain Velthor to establish secret contact with enslaved species throughout Syndicate territory. The response had been overwhelming and heartbreaking. We're receiving intelligence packages from 43 different species, Dr. Song reported during the evening briefing. They're providing everything: base locations, patrol schedules, weapon specifications, even internal security codes. What amazed the human planners was the level of detail these oppressed civilizations were willing to share. Decades of suffering under Syndicate rule had created a vast underground network of resistance fighters who had been waiting for anyone to finally take action. They're also offering safe harbor coordinates, Velthar added, his large eyes bright with hope for the first time since his rescue. Dozens of worlds are willing to hide your ships and provide supplies. The Syndicate has made so many enemies that half the galaxy is ready to help you destroy them. Admiral Beak looked around the briefing room at his officers and allies. These were experienced combat veterans who had fought pirates and hostile aliens across the frontier. But this was different. This was humanity's first real interstellar war, and it would establish their reputation among the galactic community forever. Remember, we're not just fighting to destroy the Syndicate, Beak told his assembled commanders. We're fighting to show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens innocent people and thinks they can get away with it. When we're done, every pirate and slaver in known space will think twice before they hurt anyone again. The preparations continued for 2 more weeks as the last ships arrived in final intelligence. Updates came in from resistance contacts. Humanity was about to announce its presence on the galactic stage in the most definitive way possible. Total war against those who preyed upon the helpless. The first strike came without warning in the Telkin system, or a massive syndicate. Supply convoy was making its routine run between slave processing facilities. 27 cargo ships, escorted by 8. Heavily armed pirates were moving slowly through hyperspace when Captain Shin's destroyer squadron dropped out of nowhere. The pirates never had a chance to react. Human destroyers moved like predators, their engines screaming as they accelerated to attack speed. Within the first 30 seconds, 4 pirate escorts were burning wrecks drifting through space. The remaining pirates tried to form a defensive line, but they were thinking like traditional galactic military forces. Humans didn't fight like anyone else in the galaxy. All ships, Wolfpack formation, Captain Shin ordered over the tactical network. Hit them fast, hit them hard, and keep moving. The human destroyers scattered like a pack of hunting wolves, each ship attacking from a different angle. They used the cargo ships as cover, forcing the pirates to choose between protecting their valuable cargo or defending themselves. It was exactly the kind of impossible tactical situation that humans had been creating for their enemies since they first learned to fight. The battle was over in 12 minutes. Every pirate ship was destroyed, and the 27 cargo vessels were captured intact. But the real victory came when Captain Shin's Marines boarded the ships and discovered what they were carrying. "Sir, you need to see this," reported Lieutenant Commander Wang, his voice shaking with rage over the communication link. "These aren't supply ships, they're slave transports." Inside the cargo holds, Shin's Marines found over 8,000 beings from a dozen different species packed into spaces barely large enough for animals. Many were injured, all were malnourished, and some had been in transit for months. The sight triggered something primal in the human Marines. The same protective fury that had helped their ancestors survive against impossible odds. Meanwhile, in the Mordeth Prime system, Captain Yu's assault teams were conducting their own type of warfare. Intelligence from the resistance networks had revealed a massive slave processing facility hidden on the planet's industrial moon. This was where the syndicate sorted their captured victims, deciding who would be sold to work camps and who would be shipped to the fighting pits. Yu's approach was direct and devastating. Instead of a prolonged siege, her marine assault ships landed simultaneously at 6 different points around the facility. The syndicate guards had never faced an enemy that attacked from multiple directions at once while providing covering fire. For advancing ground troops, this is what happens when you mess with innocent people, Yu told her Marines over the tactical channel as they breached the facility's outer defenses. The guards were expecting traditional combat, not the coordinated chaos that human military doctrine called controlled aggression. The fighting lasted 3 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human Marines moved through the facility like a force of nature, neutralizing guards while protecting the prisoners. When the smoke cleared, Yu's forces had liberated over 42,000 beings from 17 different species. The news of these victories spread through underground communication networks faster than official reports could travel. Species that had suffered under syndicate oppression for decades watched in amazement as humans accomplished more in 2 weeks than the Galactic Council had managed in 3 years of debates. On the Nexari homeworld, Captain Velthor's cousin received encrypted messages from resistance contacts throughout syndicate space. The reports all said the same thing. These humans fought with a combination of tactical brilliance and absolute moral certainty that was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Zhang's intelligence networks began intercepting panicked communications between syndicate commanders. The pirates were finally starting to understand what they were facing. These weren't just another military force or galactic peacekeeping mission. They were dealing with a species that had evolved by surviving on the most dangerous planet in known space. That same survival instinct now extended to protecting anyone who asked for help. The Korvax Nebula stretched across space like a massive purple and gold cloud, swirling gases hiding secrets that had remained undiscovered for centuries. Deep within its heart, the Crimson Fang Syndicate had built their ultimate stronghold. fortress complex that they believed was completely invisible to outside detection. Admiral Beak stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the tactical display that showed the nebula's inner structure. After weeks of careful intelligence gathering from resistance contacts, his teams had finally located the Syndicate's main base. What they found was larger and more heavily defended than anyone had imagined. "Sir, sensor readings confirm over." 250 enemy warships, reported Commander Kang, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. They have battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels positioned throughout the nebula in defensive formations. The math was simple and terrifying. Task Force Hammer consisted of 45 human warships facing an enemy fleet that outnumbered them nearly 6-1. By traditional galactic military thinking, this battle was already lost before it began. But humans had never been traditional. "All ships, this is Admiral Beak," he announced over the fleet communication network. "Today we end the Crimson Fang Syndicate forever. Not because we have superior numbers or better technology, but because we fight for something they can never understand: the protection of innocent lives." Captain Kwan's fighter squadrons launched first, their small craft streaking through the nebula's gas clouds like deadly arrows. The Syndicate defenders had positioned their ships to repel a traditional fleet assault, not the swarming attack patterns that human pilots had perfected during the border wars. "Wolf Squadron, this is Kwan," the captain called to her pilots over the tactical channel. "Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to win, period. Use the nebula gases as cover and hit them where they don't expect it." Human fighters disappeared into the swirling clouds, emerging suddenly to strike at enemy ships before vanishing again. Syndicate gunners found themselves shooting at ghosts, while real attacks came from directions they hadn't even considered. Defending Captain Rue's missile cruisers took position at the edge of the nebula and began their devastating long-range bombardment. The Syndicate had never faced guided weapons that could navigate through gas clouds and hit targets with pinpoint accuracy. Their defensive formations, designed to stop traditional energy weapons, were useless against missiles that could think for themselves. "Target their command ships first," Rue ordered his weapons officers. "Cut off their coordination, and they'll start making mistakes." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic military history. Instead of the formal line of battle formations that most species used, the human fleet operated like a pack of predators, each ship supporting the others while maintaining unpredictable movement patterns. Admiral Beak's battleships pushed deep into the nebula, their heavy armor absorbing enemy fire while their weapons systematically dismantled Syndicate defensive positions. The pirates had superior numbers, but they were fighting an enemy that had learned warfare on a planet where hesitation meant death. "Sir, enemy flagship is requesting communication," reported the communications officer as explosions lit up the nebula around them. On the main screen appeared a scarred alien face filled with fear and rage. This was Gorthak, the Red Supreme Commander of the Crimson Fang Syndicate and the most wanted criminal in 7 sectors. Human Admiral Gorthak snarled, "Through the translation system you have destroyed my fleets and freed my property, but you cannot kill us all. Surrender now, and I might allow your species to serve us instead of die." Admiral Beak looked at the pirate leader with the cold expression of someone who had grown up on a death world. "Gorthak, let me explain something. About humans, we don't negotiate with slavers. We destroy them." The final phase of the battle lasted another hour, as human ships systematically eliminated the remaining Syndicate vessels. When it became clear that resistance was hopeless, surviving pirate ships began surrendering rather than face total annihilation. By the time the nebula's gases cleared, the most feared criminal organization in galactic history had ceased to exist. Destroyed by a species that most of the galaxy had barely heard of just months before, the orbital platform above Earth gleamed like a jewel against the star-filled darkness of space, its massive rotating sections housing the new headquarters of the Terran Defense Corps. Captain Velthar pressed his furry paw against the observation window, watching shuttles from dozens of different worlds arrive for the formal establishment ceremony. It had been exactly 1 year since his desperate distress call had accidentally reached humanity, and the galaxy had never been the same. "Hard to believe. It all started with your research mission," said Dr. Lim, joining him at the window. The human xenobiologist had become something of a celebrity after her. Cultural exchange reports helped other species understand humanity's unique perspective on protection and warfare. Velthar nodded, his large eyes reflecting the lights of the approaching shuttles. When I sent that distress signal, I was hoping the Galactic Patrol might reach us before we died. I never imagined it would lead to this. The ceremony hall was packed with representatives from over 300 worlds, all of whom had formally requested human protection after witnessing the destruction of the Crimson Fang Syndicate. These weren't just the species that had been enslaved by the pirates. Word had spread throughout the galaxy about humans who would risk their own lives to protect complete strangers. Invulnerable civilizations everywhere wanted that kind of guardian watching over them. Admiral Beak, now commanding the first official Terran Defense Corps fleet, stepped up to address the gathered delegates. At 66, he looked every bit the weathered warrior that had become humanity's face to the galaxy. "Friends and allies," Beak began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "We stand here today because of a simple truth that many species have forgotten. When innocent beings call for help, someone must answer." The crowd fell silent as Beak continued. "Humans didn't ask to become the galaxy's protectors. We're a young species, still learning our place among the stars. But we learned something important during our evolution on Earth. Survival isn't just about keeping yourself alive, it's about keeping your community alive." In the diplomatic section, representatives from the Galactic Council shifted uncomfortably. Their 3-year debate about the Syndicate had become a galactic embarrassment. After humans solve the problem in less than 2 months, the Terran Defense Corps will operate on 3 basic principles, Beak announced. First, we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Second, we do not conquer or claim territory from those we help. Third, we will always answer a genuine distress call, no matter how dangerous the situation. Admiral Park, formerly Commander Park of the Thunder's Edge, now stood at the head of the Outer Rim Protection Force. His promotion had come after he successfully established the first permanent human patrol base in former Syndicate territory. The base was already coordinating protection for over 50 worlds that had been abandoned by their previous governments during the pirate occupation. Admiral Park's forces have already prevented 14 separate pirate raids in the outer sectors, Beak continued. Our rapid response teams can reach most distress calls within 6 hours, compared to the Galactic Patrol's average response time of 3 days. Captain Velthar noticed something remarkable happening throughout the ceremony hall. Humans and aliens were working together as security teams, communication specialists, and technical support staff. This wasn't just a human operation with alien observers. It was becoming a truly cooperative galactic organization. The formal recognition came when Ambassador Thelkar of the Galactic Council approached the podium. The elderly diplomat had been one of the strongest opponents of military action against the Syndicate, preferring endless negotiations and compromise. By unanimous vote of the Galactic Council, Thelkar announced reluctantly, "Earth is hereby recognized as a protector species, with full authority to maintain peacekeeping forces throughout galactic space." As the ceremony continued with speeches from grateful alien leaders and rescued former slaves, Velthar found himself thinking about the bigger picture. A year ago, humans had been unknown newcomers from a dangerous world. Now they were becoming the galaxy's most trusted guardians. The remarkable thing wasn't just their military effectiveness or their advanced technology. It was their genuine commitment to helping others, even at great personal cost. They had evolved on a death world, but instead of becoming conquerors or destroyers, they had chosen to use their strength to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The Deathworlders had become the galaxy's greatest hope for peace.